Hey people, it's your midsole man Eddbud here, back with another certified banger. Sometimes a shoe comes along for review that just completely perplexes me as much perhaps as it excites me. One such shoe is the FAST-RB NITRO ELITE from Puma. This one pretty much rips up the rulebook, throws it into the fire, and then puts it out with a big bucket of water. Though I don't perhaps think this is the super light race shoe of the future, let's examine this strange contraption. Thanks for tuning in, people. It is always appreciated. Do make sure, if you are yet to do so, that you hit that subscribe button. It's free of charge, don't you know? And also give this video a thumbs up like as well. It helps to distribute it around the internet. Perhaps to some eyes that have not yet seen me or any of the shoes. Also, drop us a comment down below to help with that YouTube algorithm. Dankeschön. Puma have sent me over this shoe very kindly for review, but they're not paying me to make this video, nor will they get to vet my views before my valued viewers get to see them. This shoe was released only in limited quantities. You could get it from Puma's own website, also at Pro Direct, and I think there's a couple of other retailers that have got pairs, though I think there was only about 1,000 pairs released, though none of them are in this awesome fire glow colorway that Puma have sent me, so thanks for that, guys, or cats should I say. So a bit of a coup for the channel getting this pair in this colorway. They do really stand out, that's for sure. And there's a few other things that make you stand out when you wear this shoe as well, but we'll get to that in a minute. These monsters weigh 413 grams in my UK size 11, US size 12, so that is 14.6 ounces if you like that sort of thing. So Tim Gross, heaven knows what they would be in your size, mate. It's easily the heaviest shoe that I've reviewed on the channel so far. I'm guessing that Puma are measuring the heel stack in these, like when you sort of stand them up, they actually sort of stand up with the heel like above the ground. I've got about 56 millimeters of heel stack here between like where your foot actually hits the insole and the bottom of the shoe, and there's about 46 millimeters up front. So it's about a 10 mil drop. I'm not really sure that the drop of the shoe is all that relevant though this time round. Now there appear to be a range of foam densities here in the midsole of the FAST-RB. The stuff at the actual back of the shoe here in the heel is actually quite firm. Reminds me a little bit of the material we had in the FAST-R, the original version of that one. It was quite stable actually in the heel with some EVA stuff. I think it's probably a mixture there between EVA and some lighter, sort of more nitro-like foam that represents this section here. The rest of it does seem to be that newer Nitro Elite material that we saw in the FAST-R2. There's a very wide base to this shoe. They've taken a leaf out of Nike's book with this one. 12.5 centimeters up front at the widest point, and about 9.7 in the heel, though there is this huge cutout here, and yeah, it's crazy. I am going to review this shoe, but without my typical scores. I really don't feel my way of reviewing a running shoe really fits this one whatsoever. I'm just going to sort of talk about the various elements and you can make up your own mind. For me, it's very much a prototype shoe right from the left field, so a normal review just isn't going to cut it. Upperwise, the RB reminds me a bit of a football boot you might get from Puma or maybe from Nike, along the lines of those laceless models that you get where you see someone trying to kick a ball and the shoe flies off. Although we got a load of power tape here to hold the foot in place, I would recommend getting the right size in this shoe. An 11's pretty much spot on for me. If I'd gone up a half size, I would have had some serious heel slip here. Going down a half size would have meant that my toes were getting jammed into the front of the shoe. So go true to size on this one if you are going to pick up a pair. If you can find one, in fact. Between the power tape here down the front of the shoe, there is some more stretchy knit-like material that has a little bit of give, so you can like shoehorn yourself in there. In fact, a shoehorn would be actually quite useful. Perhaps Puma can include one in new versions or like subsequent versions of the shoe. You have dual pull cords here. I guess you could use them as pull tabs, I suppose. It's going to aid the process of getting into the shoe. It is quite difficult to get into, perhaps if you're a triathlete or something, I wouldn't recommend going for this one, but I can't see that being the case. We do have that typical Puma lateral side taper here, and it's ultra weave material as we've seen on some of the other sort of top end Puma race shoes that we've had recently. I had some pretty decent tension across the top of the foot, though I have to be honest, I was sort of pining for some standard traditional lacing here. I did note that there is a version of this shoe out, or at least going to be a traditional version of this shoe out with some laces across the top there. Seems to be some sort of collab with Aesop Rock, so maybe you want to wait for that one to come out, perhaps if you pick up a pair. I found the upper reasonably comfortable over my test runs. I'm not too sure I'd want to wear it over the course of a very long run. I just feel that I wanted some extra sort of tension down on top of the foot to get the best out of the midsole, I suppose. Onto the midsole now, and it's quite the contraption here in the FAST-RB. There's a carbon plate which features under most of the foot, though there's a second TPU plate under the forefoot foam, which then meets a third plate which is quite close to the floor. There's a pair of Nitro Elite pods here which are kind of sandwiched between two of the plates. Then the rear foam culminates in these two hammer-like pieces on the rear section. The feeling of running in the shoe is actually quite odd at first, but then strangely quite familiar. There's certainly a hint of the FAST-R Nitro Elite V1 and the V2 in here. One surprise though to me was the way that the foam actually creeps up and around the heel section of the shoe. I think quite a lot of the excess weight that we've got is actually around here to try and stabilise things. It does make me feel what the shoe would be like if they try to weight relieve this section, get rid of some of this foam that creeps around the foot. The actual stack doesn't feel all that weird when you actually step into the shoe. When you start running in it doesn't feel all that wobbly or anything. Certainly not as unstable as the Prime X from Adidas. The shoe feels quite exhilarating at pace, though one major drawback of the shoe is the weight over time. As you put in some more miles into your run, it just starts to feel a little bit hefty. Despite that sort of bouncy nature of the shoe, certainly a bit of a drawback that sort of rears its ugly head as the run goes on. What I think Puma have aimed at here is a shoe that's got two very separate different things going on as your foot meets the ground. I think those two pods kind of get compressed as the foot hits the floor, and then as you go through your stride they kind of uncompress and push you forward, and then that forefoot area of Nitro Elite foam adds a little bit of pop to everything. Now, I did find the shoe very much wants you to land in a very particular sort of way. Midfoot certainly then with a real focus on the push-off. I did find myself increasing my stride length quite considerably as well when using the FAST-RB. I think the more effort I sort of put in, the more fun the shoe was to run in, but again I just ended up wishing all the time that it was quite a bit lighter and without the heft. I did find that I wanted to lift my knee that bit higher with this shoe, sort of really push down and get some really sort of propulsive landings, a little bit like the Alpha Fly, and that seemed to get the best results out of this model. But using it over distance, I think your form and strength would have to be superb really, and that's not going to suit everybody. Now, the insole that Puma have included is a PIBA based one, very similar to the one in the Fast R2. That increases the sort of step-in quality to the squash of the shoe, but of course the Fast R2 was a little bit on the weighty side as well against some of the other super shoes, especially when you compare it up against Puma's fantastic Deviate Nitro Elite 3. Now, one big issue I had on my test runs is the noise that this shoe generates. Initially I thought the creaking sound was coming from the plates rubbing together at some point. I even tried getting some WD-40 in there to see if I could sort of work it in and stop the rubbing there, but I found out it was actually the foam that's directly under the forefoot here and where it joins that carbon plate. As you put your foot down on that section of Nitro Elite foam here at the front of the shoe, you get some real creaking. It sounds a bit like a rusty old door or something, and I think a few other people made comment about that as well. Just a bit jarring and annoying over time, and it's certainly one to ensure that you got your headphones on and the noise cancellation on, that's for sure. Yeah, it's certainly propulsive. I mean, you can really go for it in this shoe over some shorter distances. Might be interesting to try it out on like a 5k or something. I'll leave it till it cools down a little bit. We've got another wave of warm weather here in the UK. Grip wise, it's Puma grip. There's loads of it as well here. There's loads of tiny ridges and little sort of protrusions here, it means that grit and grime collect up and it's actually quite difficult to get rid of it. Traction though is absolutely superb and actually strangely assured on corners. That's probably down to the weight of the shoe, I think. The rear rubber sections here very similar to the ones we saw on the FAST-R2. There are some cutouts here on the forefoot section and you could get a stone or two caught in there. Don't run on gravel, leave it to roads and pavement for this one. Though at least there's no major areas of exposed midsole because there's no midsole there. So it's not really a massive departure in terms of the outsole from the FAST-RB to some of the other sort of flagship Puma models. Thinking about value, I mean, at £300 here in the UK, it's certainly a model for the enthusiast, and I can tell you're an enthusiast. I don't think it's a model that's going to be like a super race shoe for anybody in particular, especially with this sort of weight. In fact, I think this one's almost double the amount of weight as the FAST-RB NITRO ELITE 3. I think in fairness it could work as a medium distance trainer, perhaps if you're throwing in some faster paced sections to your run. Only for the strongest of legs though, for use within a long run. The multiple plate structure certainly is unique, though I just feel that the shoe could benefit from some laces. Perhaps they've gone a little bit too far. I think if I could perhaps latch my foot down better to the midsole, I would have got more out of it. Just a better coupling there and get more from that sort of bouncy, propulsive, exciting feeling I was getting at times. And it is a very noisy shoe to run in. Not so much in terms of when you hit the ground, but that squeaking. I think if you're running in a race with loads of other people, you're probably not going to notice it as much. Maybe if you're in a more urban area, but when you're running out in the middle of nowhere like I am here, sometimes it was just me and the creaky door. Certainly a fun shoe to try out, and I'm just interested to see, you know, where technology goes in the future. Will they do another iteration of this, perhaps reduce the weight a bit, give me some laces as well? I'd love to try the pair out that have got laces. It is an absolutely bonkers shoe. Do feel a little bit like Marty McFly when you're wearing the FAST-RB. One thing that does strike me now about the FAST-Droid, which Puma released last year, this shoe kind of makes that look almost traditional. The FAST-RB certainly breaking the rules here, but quite the price and the weight. What do you make on this innovative take on a running shoe? Did you even pick up a pair on release? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. Very quick musical interlude for you. Moving from Puma to Noel Gallagher, I guess, and if you're over here in the UK, you'll probably know why. Been listening to the track Go Let It Out by Oasis. Kind of one of those tracks I really liked when it came out originally, but I saw a live version of it recently. It really rekindled my interest in the song. Oasis sounding absolutely fantastic actually on a live Jules Holland performance of this track. It's really tight and just really rock and roll. The guitar sounding absolutely mighty. It's where they'd got some new members into the band after Bonehead and some of the other guys had left, and it just felt really fresh, really direct, and with lots and lots of energy as well. Liam sounding fantastic. He seemed to be really on it, like really focused. He probably had not been on it actually at the time. That's probably why he was so focused. And adding those other members into the mix just gives things a little bit more flavour, some more spice. Go and check it out, people. Live in Jules Holland. Go Let It Out by Oasis. Thanks for tuning in, people. It is always appreciated. Hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up like, and drop us a comment to help with the YouTube algorithm. My name's Eddbud, and I'll be seeing you